Oh, actually, it's 5 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing one. Absolutely. And therefore, if you are personalising that customer journey with those personas and the marketing channels, you're going to see retention go through the roof. And that's always a good thing.
So tell me, how many companies do you think actually understand their customer journey?
I think about 30%. I think it's really underestimated how important a customer journey is, and therefore I don't think the right amount of people put the effort in that it deserves.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of the time companies don't really value the importance of the customer journey before they even start looking at their marketing. They just jump straight in.
Yeah, I think it should be done right at the very beginning and really set out the goals that you want to achieve from your customer base.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like we've just kind of jumped straight in, but what is a customer journey in your opinion?
So I think a customer journey is a really fluid plan of how your customers are processed through your business. So from the point they enter your business to the point they exit or become inactive, and what are the key touch points that they then fall on, or kind of how are they communicated with throughout that customer journey.
Yeah, I really like that. And it kind of falls over all aspects of marketing as well. And it can kind of chop and change depending on how people enter the customer journey and how people leave and what channels that they touch the business with.
With your work on personas before, how have you brought those into customer journeys?
Yeah, really good question. So when we've looked at personas before, we've kind of broken down each individual persona based on what the customer journey is. So looking at the marketing funnel from awareness, consideration, through to purchase and retention, how each persona should move through that journey individually and just kind of treat them different.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And do you think the customer journey changes much per persona? And have you got an example of how that changes?
Yeah, I would say it does and it doesn't actually. So your marketing will stay fairly rigid, but the way that we approach each persona and the touch points within that customer journey will be different. So for a younger persona, we might target them with messaging through social media, but we might target a parent through email.
Yeah.
So it'll be a similar message, but just at different points and different marketing channels.
Yeah, and I think that's a really valid point in terms of how people think about channels. I think I've had conversations with different businesses before around how email should just be the one channel that they rely on, yet a kind of older person is not going to rely and open their emails as much as someone who is kind of 18 and always on their phone. And therefore that customer journey needs to be different around how do we bring things in like direct mail and kind of push notifications and things like that to really engage with that contact versus just using email.
Yeah, absolutely. So why would you say that the customer journey is really important?
I think it's so important because it sets out a clear vision on how you're going to outline your marketing, and also it identifies the touch points that your customer is going to go through. So for example, if I know that a customer is going to become inactive, I know that there's a clear process for re-engaging that contact in terms of a re-engagement series or an SMS that goes to them or a direct mail. And I think working agency side, that really helps kind of our clients understand what we're going to do to re-engage that contact, but also it really helps us when we're kind of planning and working with cross-channel teams to kind of bring in that omni-channel journey.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What would you say are the key things to look at when you're planning out a customer journey?
I think the first point should always be the entry points to your business, whether they're downloading a resource, they're buying particular products, they've come from a Facebook ad, or they've signed up directly on site. That journey really needs to differ based on how they've entered your business. And I think actually some of the work you've done prior to them converting in terms of consideration and awareness, how that works and we bring the different channels in there is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. What about exit points? So if I know a lot of customers will just kind of say goodbye to their customers if they leave, but actually a lot of the time we can kind of bring them back into the cycle. So exit points are equally as important.
Yeah, I think it's really important. It really differs from kind of B2B to B2C. So if someone has just stopped shopping with you, you could then look at doing a re-engagement series and sending an SMS with an offer or something like that. But actually, if someone is B2B and their contract has expired and they've not renewed it, you've still got their email address, and therefore you still have the capacity to email them or contact them via other channels to therefore re-engage with them. So actually, it's really important to consider kind of how long you retain that customer's email address for, what you're going to do with it, and how you ensure that it's clean enough to stay on your kind of email books, but also to keep using it to communicate via other channels.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at that whole customer lifetime value, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think if you know, I mean, we talk to clients now around the value of an email address. It just didn't email as a specific channel, but actually that email address, if we're just talking about emails, then that can be used across multiple channels in terms of retargeting. If we know the user's address, we can start sending them direct mails around the business and kind of things that have happened since they've disengaged. And therefore, understanding how long you think someone is going to be within your business and kind of the retention period is really important. And I think that really helps set out the customer journey and how long do you consider until someone becomes disengaged? Is it, if you know someone purchases 3 times within 1 year, you then know if they've not purchased for a year that they're at that point of disengagement.
Yeah,
whereas if they're just purchasing kind of once a year, you know that they're starting to reach that kind of cliff edge, but they've not got there yet.
Yeah.
And therefore you can put things in place that are outlining your customer journey to bring them back into becoming a loyal customer.
Yeah. So one of the examples that we've worked on recently is where you've got an offer that you've sent out to a customer and they haven't opened the email. There's no point sending the email out to them again if they're not engaging with email. So we can kind of channel them back through paid social and other channels.
Yeah, and I think that's one consideration when we think about particularly email. I mean, a lot of people for a long time have said that email is dead and that email is not a channel to use anymore, but actually the future of email is it being used in an omni-channel environment and not being used in silo, and bringing the right data and customer life cycle in so you can target the right person at the right time on the right channel with the right message. And that, I think, really kind of brings that customer journey together. Because the clients that we're looking at in a minute, they have different entry points. They should be treated differently as they move through their life cycle. And when we actually start to look at the personas for some of the clients we're working on now, that customer journey will differ more and more as we start to bring it to life a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. It becomes a little bit of a beast of a customer journey map, really, doesn't it? But still important.
Yeah, definitely. When we're planning out customer journeys, I think it's really important that, like we said at the beginning, we give it the time. And I think the ones that we've worked on recently, we've probably spent a day on them, just mapping them out, and we're probably not done yet. There's a lot more to do.
But you don't need to be hugely technical with it. We could just get reams of paper and just plot out the entry points and the exit points and the channels that people are using.
Yeah, go back to basics, I think. Get your paper, pen and a giant meeting room and just start...
Just put it on the floor. Yeah, exactly. So how would you summarise the importance of a customer journey?
I think to fully understand how your marketing should be rolled out across your customer base, you need to have a solid customer journey, which really identifies the key touch points and when you're going to use those marketing channels. And that will really help you drive results, but also help you understand what data you need to power the communications that you need. For example, if you're going to send a re-engagement series, when does that re-engagement series go? Do you have the data you need to power that re-engagement series? And yeah, I think just making sure that everyone has visibility on it. It's not just about the marketing team, it's about kind of the sales team and understanding the lifetime value of the customer that they're bringing in, and also the tech teams, what data they need to bring in to power that customer journey and things like that. What about you? What do you think are the most important things?
I would say for me, it's around the personalization for customers. Because if you understand the personas, you understand the touch points that they make with your business, you can take them on their own personal journey through your business. And at the end of it, you retain better customers because they're more engaged with your business. So I think that for me is one of the key takeaways for...
Yeah, and I think just to finalise that, actually it's 5 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing one. Absolutely. And therefore, if you are personalising that customer journey with those personas and the marketing channels, you're going to see retention go through the roof, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.